A strong tropical wave is heading into the Atlantic this week, but could it become a tropical storm as it heads towards the Caribbean, and could it go even further, causing impacts to the US? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening in the tropics right now and what to expect going forward. But first, if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button for more tropical weather updates. So here's a look at the satellite imagery for the Atlantic and the Eastern Pacific, and you can see that not a whole lot going on, of course, across most of the Atlantic right now. It's actually pretty dry, with a lot of dry air and Saharan dust coming down into the main development region part of the Atlantic. But on the very edge of the screen, you can see this strong tropical wave located over Western Africa, and that's going to be the big thing, the big tropical wave moving into the Atlantic, and it's pretty strong. It does have some potential to become a tropical system. And we're also watching the Eastern Pacific for potential activity, but that's not going to be impacting land areas for the most part. Here's a look at the NHC. There's no tropical cyclone activity expected in the next 7 days from the NHC, but what we do have is this strong tropical wave. You could see a lot of convective activity as it moves pretty quickly towards the coast, and it's going to be entering the main development region within the next couple days. And it looks pretty good on infrared satellite imagery in terms of convective activity. Here's a look at it on water vapor imagery. It does have a lot of moisture with it, of course, definitely a very moist tropical wave, but notice out ahead of it, there's all this dry air and Saharan dust, a lot of this dry air coming down into the main development region out ahead of this, and this wave is going to be running right into that intense dry air. So that's going to be a problem that could destroy this tropical wave and prevent it from developing. If this wave manages to survive all of this dry air, then it does have potential to become a tropical system. And yeah, you can see this. This is a Saharan air layer map, and they're showing all of this extreme dry air and Saharan dust moving into the main development region. And that's not necessarily going away anytime soon. Here's a look at the GFS model showing, this is the latest run of the GFS model, showing that tropical wave as it moves off the coast of Africa, it starts moving off the coast tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, going into tomorrow night, and then by Tuesday and Wednesday, it starts moving past like Cape Verde, and then it looks like it tries to develop into at least an area of low pressure. But notice there's this very, very strong high pressure, a 1033 millibar Azores high, not really a Bermuda high at this point, but basically it's going to be sending down all of this dry air and Saharan dust down towards the storm system. So that's going to be a big problem, and the GFS is not showing development with this at all. So there is the potential that this does not do anything at all, but there's also potential that it tries to do something. We'll just have to see, because it hasn't even moved off the coast of Africa yet, but it is a pretty strong tropical wave. Now the stronger it is right now, the idea is that then it has a better chance of surviving the dry air. And if it reaches the Caribbean, then tropical development is slightly more possible with this. It doesn't look super favorable. I'm not going to say that it's not going to happen, but it's not super likely. So here's the tropical wave by August 1st, going into Friday morning. So this is over a long period of time. So there's several days to watch this. And so by the time we get to the end of this week, August 1st, August 2nd, the beginning of August, we have this tropical wave moving towards the Caribbean. So this is going to be a while. And then we also have all of this frontal activity moving off the east coast of the U.S., and that actually could also do something in terms of tropical activity, and also could affect where this tropical wave ends up going as well. Now, here's what happens by the time we get to August 3rd and August 4th. Really, the GFS model is showing that this tropical wave that moves into the Caribbean really goes away. It just gets destroyed. But it is showing potential for storm systems, possibly a couple of areas of low pressure that separate from fronts and actually try to get some tropical characteristics, perhaps, off the east coast of the U.S. around Bermuda. We'll have to see if that's able to happen. And then there could be more tropical activity out there, but the GFS is not really showing anything all the way through August 12th. And part of that is going to be the Saharan dust is definitely going to be a big problem for any tropical development. Here's that tropical wave. As it moves into the Caribbean, it just gets swallowed up by all that dust and dry air. And that's really what happens. And then it goes over the islands in the Caribbean. That's just going to bring a lot of rain, of course, across the Caribbean. The Leeward Islands, the Lesser Antilles, even the Dominican Republic could see a lot of rain out of this, but that's going to be August 5th to August 7th, perhaps. So that's a long ways away. And then all that moisture just keeps flowing westward. And part of that is this insanely strong high pressure. And you get like multiple areas of high pressure just covering the Atlantic. It's going to just keep moving things west and not really creating a favorable environment for stuff to really develop. Now, in terms of the wind shear is not terrible, actually. If you look at it over the next four days or so, you start seeing that tropical wave moving, and it actually is under an anticyclonic wind flow, technically. So this is not unfavorable. This is actually technically favorable in terms of wind shear. Here's a sounding showing that, yeah, the shear is 6 knots. So that's actually not that bad, but the moisture is just not really there. And you don't really have anything to really get some sustained, organized, deep convection in the storm system. Then it disappears as it goes westward, but the shear is actually not that bad across the main development region and across part of the Caribbean. It's really actually pretty light. It's just too dry to do anything. But that's only one model. We have the Euro AI model, and it's showing the tropical wave by July 31st. It's in the main development region, and it's not really doing much of anything. It does clip the northeastern Caribbean. So then we have the Lesser Antilles are going to potentially get some rain out of this if this scenario happens around August 1st or so. And then notice what happens. This actually starts turning northward, and this is where it gets very interesting. So that's why there is potential with this, even if it doesn't, let's say it doesn't do anything in the Caribbean or on approach to the Caribbean. Let's say if it turns northwestward, this is actually entering some very warm sea surface temperatures out here in the southwestern Atlantic, but this is entering some favorable sea surface temperatures. And if it does manage to go into just stay over water, it could actually try to do something. And so here's what the AI Euro model shows. By August 4th, we have a low pressure system forming. And then we have by August 5th, 10, 12 millibars. That's weak. It's a tropical depression, but it's still something. And then notice what happens. This actually goes westward, and this goes over Florida, and then it goes southward around August 8th, and then it intensifies very quickly as it turns towards Louisiana. So it crosses over South Florida and then turns towards Louisiana. That is actually a similar track to Hurricane Katrina. That's, and this is the AI Euro model. This is most likely not going to happen, but this is just showing that the AI Euro model has potential development with this storm system, but it's at least 10 days out on August 6th that it's showing potentially a tropical depression or tropical storm. And then as it intensifies into a potential hurricane, 982 millibars by August 10th. So this is very far out that if anything happens, it's going to be a while. So there's several days to really watch this storm system and see how conditions evolve really over the next week or two. And this is going all the way into August 11th. So by August 10th, it hits Louisiana, Mississippi, and then moves through the southern U.S. by August 11th. So that's what the AI Euro model is showing. The regular Euro model is showing, of course, this tropical wave, but it does not organize it into anything substantial. That's by August 1st. By August 2nd, August 1st and August 2nd, it's hitting the Caribbean. So by Friday night and early Saturday, it's hitting the Lesser Antilles and the Leeward Islands. And then it's just rain for the most part, and then it doesn't really do anything on the regular Euro model. But then it shows another tropical wave after that, by August 5th or August 6th, and then that goes north of the Caribbean, so it actually misses the Caribbean entirely, but it does actually organize and strengthens into a tropical storm, perhaps by August 11th. So anything that happens with these storm systems is going to be pretty far out. It's definitely subject to change, but something to watch. Here's a look at the CMC model. So they're showing basically nothing. Like, it's a tropical wave and then it just disappears over the Caribbean, but that moisture does make it all the way towards the Bahamas and even Florida by August 6th. That's what they're showing. Now, the ensemble models are showing development too. Here's the Euro ensemble. This tropical wave clips the northeastern Caribbean around August 2nd, and they're showing it could be a tropical cyclone, not just a tropical wave, but an area of low pressure, a tropical cyclone, maybe a tropical depression or tropical storm. Then, again, it turns after around August 3rd or so. It turns, and then it could go any number of places. It could go further west. It could actually go towards the Bahamas or Florida, but it could also just stay out in the southwestern Atlantic. Could go just off the east coast of the U.S. It could go a little bit more towards Bermuda. It just really fans out from there. So that'll be interesting to see what happens from that, because it could go any number of places, and depending on if it's able to strengthen into anything or not, it could end up causing significant impacts. But the ensembles are really showing that, yeah, it clips the northeastern Caribbean and then fans out from there, but development is possible. We'll just have to watch. If it gets past the insane punch of dry air this week, then it will have a better chance of trying to turn into something down the road, downstream, potentially north of the Caribbean, I'm thinking, or further towards maybe the southeastern U.S., who knows. And the GEFS model, the latest GEFS, is not really showing anything at all from the ensembles for this tropical wave. It has it around July 30th, July 31st, but then it just gets eliminated. All that dry air really takes it out. And yeah, so that's pretty much what the forecast models have in terms of this tropical wave moving off the coast of Africa. It does have some potential for tropical development, but it's not necessarily very likely at this point. Just something to watch over the next several days to even a week. Just something to watch. Even the Euro model does have like a 20 to 40% chance of tropical development on this, and has for several days, actually. So just something to monitor, but nothing to really think about too hard just yet. The NHC is watching Tropical Depression 1C in the Central Pacific and 2 disturbances in the Eastern Pacific. There's things going on there. South of southwestern Mexico, there's a tropical disturbance with a 70% chance of formation over the next 7 days. And I actually did show the potential for even potentially a significant hurricane in the Eastern Pacific in my previous video. And then we also have another storm with a 40% chance of tropical cyclone formation out in the Eastern Pacific. The forecast models were showing that too. Here's a current look at Tropical Depression 1C. If this gets a name, which it probably will, when this gets named, it'll be Tropical Storm Iona in the Central Pacific. So they use a different set of names once you go west of 140 degrees longitude. Here's the latest cone for Tropical Depression 1C, or future Tropical Storm Iona, and it's actually going well south of Hawaii, so not really going to cause significant impacts for the most part there, except, I don't know, perhaps maybe some elevated waves and stuff like that, but it is staying pretty far to the south, but it will strengthen over the next several days, going all the way out till Thursday as a tropical storm. I think the peak intensity will be probably somewhere around Tuesday. And here's the latest track guidance. Same thing, just taking it out away from Hawaii, really, just far to the south of Hawaii, and then out into the open part of the ocean. Here's the latest intensity guidance. And we have, it's going to be a tropical storm very soon, if it isn't already. And then we have, it intensifies all the way up to a potentially 50-knot tropical storm, maybe 60 miles an hour, maybe even higher, maybe even a low-end Category 1 hurricane on a couple of the models in about 36 hours, and then slowly drops off from there. So definitely another tropical cyclone out there. Here's a look at the HAFS A model for Tropical Depression 1C, and it does strengthen pretty steadily, going all the way down, according to the HAFS A model, down to 971 millibar hurricane on the HAFS A model before it weakens out somewhere in the Pacific. In terms of the winds, this could actually strengthen into a hurricane on the HAFS A model in the next 45 hours by 8 a.m. Tuesday. So that's when that peak intensity is likely, and then it gets all the way down to, this is saying 976 millibars in 60 hours on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time. And so, yeah, definitely strengthens into a decent hurricane, 83 knots. That's getting close to Category 2 strength there on the HAFS A. This is, 84 knots. That's basically a Category 2 hurricane, 971 millibars on Tuesday evening and Tuesday night before it weakens down going into the end of the week. But it's still all the way out 126 hours on Friday afternoon. It's still 997 millibars, still with winds over 50 knots, almost 60 knot winds, so 70 miles an hour. That's pretty much what's going on in the Central Pacific with that. And then we have the Eastern Pacific. We have those couple disturbances out there. The GFS model is not really developing this disturbance out here in the next 84 hours, really not doing anything with it in the next 3 to 4 days. But it does become a tropical storm, but nothing too intense. But then what follows after it could become a little more intense going into next week. And then possibly another storm system getting a little bit close to the coast of Mexico and bringing in a lot of rain, potentially into western Mexico, even the southwestern U.S., going into August 8th through August 10th, with potentially another system after that. So the Eastern Pacific looks like it's starting to get quite active. Finally, here's an update on the MJO. We have right now unfavorable over the main development region, unfavorable over the Eastern Pacific, but we're able to see something in the Central Pacific with future Tropical Storm Iona. And over West Africa, it is favorable in terms of the MJO, so that could explain some of our more intense tropical waves over there. And then in the next 5 days, going into August, the main development region still not favorable, so things are going to stay about the same going to August 1st, but where things start to change is after that. So August 6th through August 12th, you start seeing more favorable conditions over the Eastern Pacific and the Western Atlantic. Africa is still neutral, then it's neutral to unfavorable, so not necessarily a great signal for tropical activity there, but this is just the general conditions. You could still see some activity despite that. And then going into August 16th, August 21st, we have still neutral over Africa, starting to get unfavorable over the Eastern Pacific, but the Atlantic is mostly neutral. So there's that. I have to see what happens going all the way into the end of August and early September. So that's pretty much what's happening in the tropics right now and over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please be sure to hit the like button if you haven't already, share the video, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more weather updates on the tropics. Thanks for watching. Extreme Weather Zone, out.